Ninth part in the series of the nature of death. What you have to take, just take your Lagna chart and draw place on the table. And you all know that the 8th house determines the nature of death. Now, many classics, many shastras accept that the manner of death can be known from the 8th house and the planets present in your chart in the 8th house. So in this video, I will mention in English the reason, the 8th lord nature, whether there is a problem of Tridosha or what kind of planets present in the 8th house that is responsible for the death at the time of in your last stage. So first case, if note down, if no planet is present in the 8th house, I am talking about the 8th house, all emphasizes will be in the your D1 8th house chart. So if no planet is placed in the 8th house and no aspect is there, in that case death or departure of soul will be due to the nature of the 8th house. What will be the nature of the 8th house? So how can you determine nature? The nature can be determined by the sign, which sign is written in your 8th house. So first of all, note down Tridosha. There are three kind of Tridosha in Shastra or Ayurveda. What are those? First is bile, second is pitta, and third is kapha. These three play a crucial role in Ayurveda, and in the inflammation of these things in your life at any period of time will cause situations of medical problem, or at the last stage of your life it caused the problem of nature of death. So first thing, if in your 8th house number 5 is written, means here is number 5 written. I am discussing all the number from 1 to 12. Please note down these things. If number 5, the 5 represents sun, in that case bile will be the nature. If number 4 is written there, means moon, means wind, and kapha, both will be the reason of death and nature of death. If number 1 and 8 is written in your 8th house, in that case bile will be the responsibility. Or if number 3 or number 6 is written in your 8th house, in that case all the three, bile, pitta and kapha, all these three things will be responsible. Note down these things please. For further discussing about the number 9 and 12, if you need any consultation, check description box, download Jyotishgher Veda app. We have Jyotishgher Numerology app as well. And you can consult free of cost on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter by sharing your chart, Tridoshas, and wait for 60 days. That what can I give you? So these are the things. So if 9 and 12 is written in your 8th house, in this house, in that case the Lord is Jupiter, and it will be totally deal with kapha. Coughing problem will be there at the last stage. Suppose if there is number written 2 and 7 in your 8th house, in that case it deals with the Venus, then wind and the problem of kapha, both will be responsible. At the last, if number 9, if number 10, that is of Saturn, and 11 is written in your 8th house, then wind will be responsible for the death. And if we're talking about the Rahu and Ketu, the Rahu and Ketu will are the shadow planets, and they change their mind, their attitude as per the sign present in the 8th house. If 5 is there, then it will rise the quantity of bile more than the described. If 4 is there, it will rise wind and kapha situation more than the threshold situation. So whatever the number is written here, it will rise that intensity at the high level. So this is the case when these numbers are written in your chart in this place. Now what about the next? Now the second case. The first case you have noted down when there is no planet is present in the 8th house. Now the second case is when the planet is present in the 8th house or the aspects are there. So do not forget that in case of Mars has 3 aspects, 4, 7 and 8. All the planets have 7 aspects. Please note down these things. While Saturn has 3, 7 and 10 aspects, Jupiter will have 5, 7 and 9 aspects, and rest of the planets have 7th aspects. So if in the 8th house, just focus in the 8th house, you have to note down what is written in the 8th house, which planet is present in your 8th house, or whether there is any aspects, any eyes from outside. If such things happening, then the strongest of them will cause the disease, and that disease represents the kind of death. Suppose in your 8th house, Sun is present itself, or Sun is present in the 2nd house, or expect 7th house. In that case, Sun represents fire and fire represents fever. So that will be the reason for death. That will be the reason for disease. If Moon is present there, Moon represents water, and water type diseases like pneumonia, like diarrhea will be the cause of blood impurities and the nature of disease. If Mars is present in your chart in 8th house, in that case it represents accidents, loss of bloods. So the problem due to cholera, plague, and the problem due to the head injury and the scooter injury will be the cause of death. If Mercury is written there in your 8th house, or expecting in the 8th house, in that case the brain fever will be responsible there. A kind of smallpox will be the reason for death of disease. Similarly, if Jupiter is present in your 8th house, or expecting Jupiter, then it represents stomach problem, gastritis problem, stomach ulcer problem. And if Venus is present in your 8th house, it causes excessive, due to the alcoholic nature, and a high blood pressure shooting, and the problem of diabetics eventually seen. And at the last, if Saturn is present in your 8th house, then excessive eating, obesity and starvation will be the cause of reason. What about the Rahu and Ketu? If Rahu and Ketu is present there along with these planets, then they will rise the problem related to respective planets. So that's all. So if 2 or more planets occupy the 8th house, then the disease will be the 2 kind of nature. In the next video, we will discuss about whether the death will be close to the home, or far from the home, or in the hospital in English. Although the Hindi version is already in the playlist. That's all for the day. Jai Shri.